Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. This is the final season of the year. The way that we do it around here, we have the 8 sacred seasons. Winter, spring, summer, fall are the ones everyone is familiar with. Those are very active cardinal points. You know, Aries, Libra, Cancer, Capricorn rule our seasonal shifts that, like I said, everyone's pretty familiar with. What I like to touch base on and remind you all about is the midpoint between winter, spring, summer, fall is always Taurus, Scorpio, and Leo, Aquarius. They bring us to an anchoring or release point. So all tonight, everything we're going to lay on the table, you're going to know internally whether you need to be anchoring or releasing whatever we're talking about, whatever's coming up. So think about that kind of back burner as we go through the season. Each season is about 6 weeks. So the energetic support we'll cover tonight will cover us between now and December solstice. What I also like to remind people about the seasonal shift is that we have winter, spring, summer, fall, which are active. There's lots of choices and changes and things to do, people to deal with. The Aries, Libra, and Cancer, Capricorn rule self versus other and home versus work. So these are the fundamentals we all have to deal with. And so they're up during that time. But the month before, the seasonal shift is always Gemini, Sag, and Virgo, Pisces, which is our processing time. If we started to get into the rhythm of processing and integrating the last month or the last quarter, and then going into the next season where it's time to make choices and changes, then if we've processed well, those choices and changes are easy to make. They're easier anyway. And once we've made choices and changes, we go from Aries, Libra, Cancer, Capricorn into the Leo, Aquarius, and Taurus, Scorpio zone, which is where, again, if you've made choices and changes, then some things are over and you need to release them. And some things you're creating space for to bring in. And so you want to be able to anchor that foundation properly. So the rhythm for the seasonal shifts becomes process, choose, anchor. Process, choose, anchor, or release, right? So we get a rhythm to it. And then you can start feeling like, I don't really deal with clocks and calendars as much as seasons and the moon and the sun and what's going on the earth. I'm trying to stay connected here because that's where the joy and the pleasure is. If you're too up here or in technology, we can't connect to that actual experience of pleasure. We can think about it and talk about it and explore the possibilities. But when you drop down in your body, you're going to have the experience. And that's part of being here. And so we want to honor that. Now, once we deal with that rhythm, then we look at how we're following the light, right? So we have this time where we're heading toward the longest night, shortest day, and the least amount of light. So darkness is the conception zone. It's the void of creation. All seeds germinate in that darkness, right? So we want to be able to go within and do the feminine thing of contain, nurture, protect these seeds and these intentions and these things that you're calling in for the new year of 2025, and think about what you've already been through in 2024. Right? So that's part of why we call the ancestors at this time, because they can help guide us and validate or confirm what we did get done and maybe what's left to do, but also where we should go in the new year or what we should focus on or where the support is going to be. And that's kind of my big thing, is to do what the energy supports. Don't push the river, don't force your will. You can always set your intention and say this or something greater, which leaves room for spirit to work and to contribute the bigger vision that you might not be able to formulate at this moment. And at the same time, we're in a huge zone, or energetic zone anyway, of expanding that vision. A lot of what has to happen though is an ending and a mourning period and a clearing out before we can actually call this stuff in, because there are much larger cycles at work. That's another thing for any of my newbies on here. My whole thing is cycles and patterns. So we're looking at not just the annual cycle of closure on 2024, but we have just come through the end of a 20-year cycle, a 30-year cycle, a 50-year cycle, a 165-year cycle, and then there's even bigger ones that take us way back. And we're not trying to bring those dark ages forward. We're trying to make better choices and do that better now with the consciousness, with the tools, with the ancestor support and guidance is always going to be a big part of that. So let's look at the season itself for right now. This is sometimes called Samhain in the Celtic tradition. And then for us, it is, I consider it the gate of power. That's the midpoint between the seasons. Okay. And so we want to pause right now and look at what came up during our fall harvest and look a little bit forward to winter solstice seeds that you want to plant. We want to start cultivating what we'll be calling forth when we hit the end of December. Okay, so between now and then, we are communing daily, hopefully, with the ancestors, asking questions, clarifying, confirming what you're picking up, and confirming what you're thinking about. So each season is good for something, right? And our season right now is time for honoring the ancestors, to prepare for several months of inner self work. So shadow work and soul work is what's up right now. And I know that that's why Western culture wants to distract us with these consumer holidays and things. So take all the time that they give you to go do other ridiculousness. Take that time for yourself this season and honor that which is complete, either aspects of your being or things happening in the world. The veils between dimensions are thinnest right now. That's why we call on our spirit team, angels, ancestors, animal spirit guides, your orishas. This is when we talk to them the most. So they're really, very, very present at this time of year. But throughout the year, they're available for different consultations that are good to follow with the seasons. And so we want to ease that communication and open those channels. You want to be a clean, clear channel, take a shower, cover your head in something white, cleanse your aura, cleanse your space, make sure you have a candle and a glass of water, and you sit down to listen and maybe ask a few questions. We're also always, at these times, it's a transitional time. We're shifting from fall harvest into what is all that going to feed the root of going forward, right? And just endings and new beginnings. There's a huge vibration for most of the year of 2025 that has to do with ending those bigger cycles I just rattled off and initiating the new ones. And then by 2026, it's going to be a whole new vibration and frequency and, let's say, alchemical mix of elements and activations. So we're moving towards some very big social collective shifts. And most of my work focuses on the individual. I think if the individuals get it together, the globe will be okay. So we look at this season to complete all 8. You've done everything you can do for the last 10 months, and now you must surrender. Now you've been intuitively guided and completely supported the whole time, whether you knew it or not. And all seasonal shifts call our attention to balance. We want to pay attention to that. Tune in, retune or reactivate your heart. Like we said, we're doing heart and soul right now. Scorpio is water, earth and water are feminine. We're doing body and soul right now. That's the Scorpio Taurus dynamic. Everyone has it somewhere in their chart. And we look at this as the way that I describe it as Taurus is the earth and the food and flowers and sensuality and the physical experience of beauty and substance and sustenance. But Scorpio is the breath of God that breathes life into that. It's the invisible power that we also have to calibrate annually so that we are walking in our power. We're protected by our shields and fields are full of light and, let's say, layers of protection. We have many, many layers of protection of light, and they do get dinged and they get hit while we're moving through the universe, and we just need to seal up some of those cracks and holes and make it a little stronger. And some of that is just a daily practice of filling your field with light and then moving through your day, asking for that ease and grace and open pathways, because we don't need to learn our lessons tragically and hard and everything is pain and suffering. We don't have to learn that way. So you can choose and call in anything that you do need to learn. Maybe learn it with ease and grace, right? But this is, like we say over and over, the best time to call in the ancestors. We are at a midpoint. So that is something that in agriculture, there's this little thin membrane that is right between seed and new life. Where the seed pops, it has to break through that thing to do what it's got to do. And so we're in that closure, reflection on 24, what got done, what didn't. What resources are you working with at this time? Where is the support and protection? How are your boundaries and protections? This would be a time of year annually to recalibrate that, calling in the ancestors to assist us with that. And we need more than ever to shield our energy, and our presence is a resource, y'all. And to be distracted and off on the social collective of crazy is just to keep you off your game and out of your frequency. So don't let them do that. Call it back over and over as often as you have to, as often as you need to. Now, we do take a quick look at the blueprint. We call this the Sky Council when we look at the chart for the moment of the Gate of Power. So we have kind of a special chart for this one. Scorpio energy is showing up in 6th house of health and daily routine. So we want to do some transformation, some purification. If you can do some fruit and fasting, that's a good idea. Again, with looking at how you bring in creativity on a daily basis. We don't want to do that feast or famine. Let's start making that part of your daily rhythm, is to stop and talk to the ancestors and stop and be a little creative. Do something there. Mercury is moving into its retrograde process. And right now for our chart, it's in the 7th house. So we're starting to rethink the story we want to tell where our partnerships, collaborations, and relationships are concerned. Venus is neck and neck with Pallas, another sacred feminine wisdom, our healing capacity, our prismatic perspective, our ability to see things from different angles is all in Sag, which brings in the diversity, the expanded vision, the higher vision. Let's not be in lower frequencies right now. We need to feed our spirit and our souls so that we can remain strong for anything else we need to do with our bodies to stay safe. The moon is in Capricorn. This is for technically the Gate of Power was on the 6th, y'all, but at this time that I scheduled all this, we were supposed to be in New Orleans and everything's gone sideways. We didn't even have Mercury to blame. Mercury just got where it's going to stir things up. So we just had a plan B. That was mostly the ancestors. And so you also want to think about that sometimes when we have these divine delays or detours. It's because something else is more important and we need to listen to that. And we can reschedule New Orleans, and we will. We'll be back there soon enough. But the moon in Capricorn really neck and neck with Sirius, another feminine entity in Capricorn, a feminine sign. I talk about this a lot because patriarchy has hijacked Saturn and Capricorn, and both of them are in service to the feminine, to Mother Earth, to the Council of Grandmothers or the Council of Elders. And so we're taking that back. And all of that, along with Pluto at 29, leaning on its last degree for 250 years, there's a bigger cycle, all in the 9th house of our consciousness. And again, with changing the story. Capricorn is also tied to the family and a lot of the DNA karma that we bring through, what we're responsible for. So anything that you can heal, any cycles, negative patterns that you can break is unlocking things for 7 generations back and 7 generations forward. So just doing your work helps the ancestors. If you take it a step further and want to talk and commune and create relationships and have your living room taken over, then that's what you do. I'm very happy to do it, but I ain't got no pets no more. But yeah, all our Capricorn juju's up in the 9th house. So it's being responsible for your consciousness, not allowing these distractions to take you down dark rabbit holes. Okay. If you're going to go down a rabbit hole, go down a creative one. Right. And I plan to do more of that in the new year with y'all. It's Sacred Crafts Night. I don't know if I can do it once a month, but maybe once a season, 8 times. We might make 8 things like the feather fan or the broom or my shell rattle. I've got things that we can do together that can be creating our tools and our little toolkit that keeps us centered in our power. Now, Saturn and Neptune are the ones that are at the end of Pisces right now, along with the North Node and Aries. All 3 are in the 11th house of community, hopes and dreams, our visions for the future and all that. So part of being able to vision something better right now is going to be directly tied to your spiritual practices and your relationship with your spirit team. It's going to be directly related to what you believe is true or possible for yourself, and not being attached to the old story. Be willing to tell a new story. I'm very big on that with like family and friends that know you from way back, and they hold you in that old identity and that old person. And I'm like, you know what, you damn Skippy, I used to do that, but I don't do that anymore. And I don't think that way anymore. I don't feel that way anymore. And I just catch them up to date. And then nobody's pissy. We don't have to be upset. Nobody has to be good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just, look, that's not who I am anymore. And let's meet at this frequency. Let's meet up here and do this another way. So a lot has to do with your spirit and your body. Okay, we're thinking Pisces, Virgo here, right? And Saturn has to do with your physical limitations. We are very easily overwhelmed right now. No one is exempt. I'd like to think that it doesn't get me, but it gets me too. And so it becomes a practice of good boundaries. And when Saturn gets back to Pisces, and I've been talking about this in other places, like on the forecast and whatnot, you think about the mid to late 90s and the chaos and the different blessings and challenges of the mid to late 90s. How did that go for you? That was the end of Saturn in Pisces and the beginning of Saturn in Aries, which basically initiated a 30-year reality we're just coming out of and resetting to go forward. So we don't want to repeat any of the mistakes of the last 30 years. We want to look at the 7-year little pivot points. Every 7 years, our cells slough off. We are regenerative creatures. We can call in a new reality very easily when you lock in and in this rhythm and start co-creating consciously. You can start to see how you shape your own reality by what you believe to be true or possible is usually tied to it. So your mindset, how you process and integrate the information you're gathering from the whole world, different ways, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, we pick up information from many different directions and we have to process that in our systems. Virgo rules the systems, and it's the one piece that's actually missing from our chart that I always say, if you've got 3 of the 4, it's like a 3-legged table. You want to bring that 4th leg in consciously. So in order to balance out the mind-blowing, chaotic, over-processing zone that we got cooking right now, we have to bring in Virgo consciously, which means drop into your body, do what's natural for you, have some intentional solitude, be in nature versus technology. Virgo's not about all that. And we all have it somewhere. And then if it's activated, it's even stronger. And our blueprint is actually ruled by Taurus. So self-worth, self-love, self-esteem is all at the root of this season as well. I always tell people that Taurus, Scorpio, and Leo, Aquarius bring up different aspects of our self-love and self-worth that, again, we all have somewhere. So Taurus is our creature comforts and our personal security, food, sex, and money. So I call it your level. Like I know my level in terms of where I want to live or the people I want to be around or the vibration. So there's different things we're adjusting to, having to find another way, to do another way, to manifest, to magnetize. And we kind of need to clean out and purify in that process. And so let's think about your comfort zone. That's what Taurus is too. And so a lot of times that's rooted in what you think you're worth. So think about how you can upgrade that. And then Scorpio is your power and your creativity. And think how many people feel like they don't have any power or creativity. Like I don't really consider myself an artist, but I'm learning to pay more attention to my creativity. I am creative. You look at these different aspects of power. And especially with this season, we want to assess where we're at with that and how we feel and where's the comfort zone and do we feel capable of calling in this kind of power to actually conceive and create the world, the reality that we want to live in. That's what we're going to stay rooted in the truth, which for me is rooted in the earth and sky. So we make that connection. We are the bridge between earth and sky, and we are made of that stardust and that dirt from the earth. The other aspects of self-love and self-worth come from Leo, Aquarius. Leo is shining your light and being your authentic self and being able to feel comfortable in your own skin. We want that at a higher level now. Let's call that in. And opposite is Aquarius, your unique contribution. And think how many people don't think they have a real unique contribution, but we do. We all do. My example for that was the astrology. There's a million astrologers doing it for free. Why would anyone pay me? I needed to find my unique voice, which ended up being cycles and patterns. And not everybody, when I started, nobody was talking about it. And I remember them shuffling me around and pushing me to the side, and nobody wanted to talk about these things. And now everyone's sort of waking up and feeling it and wanting to learn more. So I hung in there long enough to get to this other level. But again, with the self-worth that it made for me, it allowed me to feel like I had a unique voice and a unique contribution. And that, we don't all walk in the door with that. It has to be cultivated, but it's in there. We all have it somewhere. So you want to stay in the unique contribution realm. You want to stay in the realm of things, again, that are comfortable and natural for you. Do what you do. What's our little song for the money pouring? I want to get paid to be me. So just doing what you do, being who you are, learning and teaching what you learn and teach along the way, sharing your essence is one of your ways of contributing. So, speaking of which, our energetic support, let's look at that. Like I said, this is just 6 weeks, November through winter solstice, the end of December. And we usually kind of go through this in order. So the moon, right now, we're close to the Scorpio new moon. So again, we're conceiving a new vision for the new year. We're also getting back in touch with our creativity and our power, calling some new vision for that forward. While we go forward, November 15th will be the Taurus full moon. That's when we release certain things. So here we're in that time of year where in order to conceive something new, we have to do a clearing. And I think it was in my weekly forecast. I can't remember where I wrote it or said it, is that we want to do a clearing or like a downsizing as if you were going to move to a smaller space. If you had to move to a smaller space, what could you prune away? This is the time of year to do that. As you're able to prune, that is also recalibrating your Taurus values and priorities around food, sex, and money, usually, because these are our resources to do anything. So looking at those things and where have you gone through a feast or famine? That's another thing that comes up with the Taurus full moon, is where we might be in a famine or where there might be what we call a hungry ghost, where you're hungry for something, you go after it, you get it, but it doesn't really satisfy. That's what we call a hungry ghost. And we don't want to deal with any of that. Then we have the Sag Gemini lunation, where we're planting seeds for the new story, November 30th. And then the Gemini full moon, where we might have to release a certain mindset that will unlock that new story, will happen on December 15th. So we're in Scorpio Sag zone, which is my favorite time of year. But also when I tell folks, Scorpio's the soul, it's the water, it's internal. We go in, it's what I call raw truth. It can bring you to your knees. And we go in like that so that we can rise out of it with Sag fire, the inspiration, the making meaning out of any suffering or loss or endings that we're going through, to tell a new story, to birth that. That's the phoenix from the ashes there, that we all, again, go through Scorpio to Sag time of year every year. And then if you have it activated, then it's very personal for you as well. And so keeping that fire-water combination in mind for the next 6 weeks is also super creative. It's also where Mercury is going to linger to retrograde in Sagittarius. So with Mercury, the processing planet, in the processing sign where we do our spiritual processing in Sagittarius, we do our mental processing in Gemini, we do our physical processing in Virgo, and we do our emotional processing in Pisces. And so if one of them is lit up, like Mercury leaning on Sag, it's going to automatically ping the other three. So as we're initiating in Sagittarius, we're going to have to integrate and balance something in our Gemini zone. So if we change our mind and we start doing new things on the Sag side, then the Gemini logic, ideas, options, community, like people that can maybe help partnering, think of the twins doing something with someone else. We're going to have to balance something else out. But it's also kind of your mind and your consciousness, or let's say your thinking and your beliefs. So if we're initiating new beliefs, then some of the thinking has to adjust and integrate a whole new way of expressing. Communication and expression is what's going to come out of that recalibration in Sag for us. Now, that means that the Virgo Pisces zones have to grow out of comfort zone into new territory. So the body spirit piece, the physical and the emotional, they need to grow, change, move, do something different. So with Pisces, it would be your boundaries and your protections and your creativity and your inner artist. I love Pisces for that. Virgo would be your daily rhythms and routines, health and well-being, doing a checkup or doing whatever it is you do annually. Again, paring down, simplifying. So if we can do those things consciously, then the initiation integration goes better as well. It just also puts our processor on hyperdrive. So catch yourself if you're over processing, dial it back, open to receive. That's the better thing to do. What's coming to mind is the way I teach ego versus spirit. Ego's the little voice in your head that bothers you and badgers you. You should do it. You should call him. You should go here. You should do this. Da, da, da. It badgers you. Spirit only speaks once. Either you heard it and you processed and you responded, or you didn't. It doesn't mean spirit won't speak again, but spirit does not badger. It's not going to bother you like that. Ego needs a result right now. Ego wants to be heard right now. So that's not how spirit rolls. So if we lean back a little bit, slow down for a Mercury retrograde, we want to do that anyway, and receive the messages we need for this season. And it's the messages around recalibrating what you believe and what story you're telling. So that's a huge upgrade that Mercury's facilitating all through November, December. Venus, our sacred feminine, is going to make some moves before she positions herself in the late winter, early spring for her own retrograde, which only happens every 18 months. So the way I'm looking at this next 3 signs, Sag, Capricorn, Aquarius, which is about, it's 2.5 to 3 months. Our feminine, our values, our priorities are again recalibrating in Sag, the story we want to tell. In Capricorn, we go to what's the foundation and structure that's going to allow us to beautify, magnetize, do the Venus thing. And then when we get into Aquarius with Venus, it's always how can you shine? How can you be different? Where's the community? What are you doing for social fun and interaction? How are you learning or growing in your consciousness? You know, she likes to do different things in Aquarius. She likes to be different there. But once she hits Pisces, she's going to start slowing down to retrograde in Aries, and she's going to go direct in Pisces. So they're going to be related. And those of you who have the Pisces Aries cusp, just like up in the sky, we're going through some endings, new beginnings there. This is going to bring it down micro to macro for our individual selves to recalibrate our values and priorities come spring in a whole new way that we haven't seen for 8 years. So that's another way to look back at what relationships were you in? How were your finances? What were your values and priorities back in 2017, 18 was the last time Venus retrograded in Aries. So it's also the whole idea of going backwards in Aries would be to reset an identity. So that's the other reason to take these 3, Sag, Capricorn, Aquarius, to kind of define your terms, complete the last 18 months to 8 years, and prepare yourself for this major rebirth that's coming in the spring. Mars is already in its retrograde zone. Mars only goes backwards every 2 years. So every 2 years, who we are and what we want gets an upgrade, and we can do that consciously. It's good to do that. Where it's resetting is in our Cancer Leo. So we've been talking about this a lot all year because it's very personal. And Cancer Leo is our self-care and how we take care of ourselves, how we nurture and feed ourselves. And Leo's how we shine our light and how we express ourselves. So Mars is recalibrating that, saying, no, we're not doing none of that the same way. We're going to do all that a new way. We're going to take care of ourselves better. We're going to shine our light better. We're going to be around better vibrations and frequencies. We're going to hold better boundaries. And we're going to plan better for the things that we can plan for. And we're going to be more flexible so that we can be more responsive in the moment when we can't plan for things. So that's a lot of what the practices end up helping us with. Every day is a normal day. Nothing happens, nothing happens, nothing happens. But if you've strengthened like a workout, if you've done your workout, when something happens, you're strong and ready. You don't want to be scrambling at the last minute trying to get ready. So think about who you are and what you want over the last 2 years, evolving and claiming something new for yourself on a very personal, private, individual level. Okay, this ain't about nobody else but you. This is who you are and what you want, your desires, your passion, your energy. Think of Mars as energy in the fire to want anything, to do anything. And it's our sacred masculine. So Venus is our sacred feminine. We contain, nurture, protect. Our masculine is the part of us that can negotiate on our own behalf, get our ideas in the world, and hold good boundaries. So we want to parlay those things. We want to upgrade. We want to do those in a new way and clean it up. Let's look at how it's been working or not working and make some new choices going forward. As we speak, it's in Leo, headed its way to retrograde in Leo. So in our Leo department, let's say the Leo house, my Leo house is the 9th house of teaching and all this spiritual consciousness and things, right? Leo rules it anyway. It's got a lot of Virgo in there, but it's where I'm rethinking what I want. I've been teaching for like 25 years a certain way, and I've been online. In 2020, brought COVID, was the year I was going into reach. I had 4 retreats scheduled for 2020. I'd already been online for 20 years. I was ready to go in person. So now, after recovering from all that drama, I'm trying to find the hybrid, the happy medium where some of me is online, but some of me is in person. So hopefully these seasonal gatherings will become something we do in person around the country. And I can come do these things from your living room. So think about your reset with Mars. Know that also with a Mars retrograde, which technically happens during this season, I believe, December 6th, it goes retrograde, re-enters Cancer, goes direct in Cancer, February 23rd. So when Mars Mars is backwards, our energy is turned inward. So that's the other reason, like this season is leading to that, is leading to that, is leading to that. So there's so many things that are pointing us toward turning inward, withdrawing our energy from social collective madness, and feeding ourselves and resetting our foundations, right? So that you can go into 2025 strong, right? We don't want to go there weak, exhausted, worn out, angry. All of the above is not going to be good for the new year, because again, the new year is on an ending new beginning track as well, in such a way that you're going to have to navigate both at the same time, right? For the whole year, we're going to do an ending, then we're going to do a new beginning. We're going to do an ending, then we're going to do a new beginning. And it won't really feel like a new beginning until 26. So just know that if it comes up to be cleared, and if Spirit's guiding you to clear a space and to let go of something or someone or some situation, then you know that the new is coming. That void will be filled. You won't be alone long. Think about what you're calling in and how much you can actually manage. Now we're back to that Virgo piece. You know, what's really sustainable for you? How much can you handle? Turn that energy inward, work on yourself. And the other thing about the anger and the frustration, that can be a component of this, because Mars's typical energy wants to move and wants to be masculine, wants to do and be and go moving forward. And that's not what time it is. So don't let your monkey mind get you twisted because actions are being hampered or blocked or delayed. These are divine delays. You got to know that. You got to claim that anything that you get blocked on, it is for a reason. And you want to pause and ask your spirit team what's going on and what you need to pay more attention to come out successfully, to have, you know, the best outcome, right? For the highest good of all involved, whatever you want to say. But Mars is huge and it does affect our physical energy. So be mindful of that. Get more rest, not less. You know, have more time in your body or in water to soothe some of that fire that wants to go when it's not really supported. So when you do that, you know, you push for accidents or walking into walls. You just get your feelings hurt. Don't push the river like that. Mars, then we go to Jupiter, and the rest of them are all kind of where they're going to be. Jupiter's backwards in Gemini, so we're rewriting the story already. Saturn is backwards in Pisces, so we're reworking the reality and our beliefs and our spiritual practice, upgrading and updating. So let's think about the big thing about Jupiter and Saturn, which is our truth and purpose. It's our story and our reality. They are a tag team. They work together. Jupiter comes through and expands our consciousness, expands the possibilities, and shows us a potential. Saturn comes through and says, okay, now make it real, give it a structure, give it a base. So they're in their own 20-year cycle, which means they sort of have a click every 5 years. And right now, coming soon to a theater near all of us, I believe it's February of the new year, but Jupiter's going to square off with Saturn. That's a challenge to grow out of comfort zone into new territory around your consciousness and your reality. So everything that's happening before spring is leading to that shift, is leading to that reset, is leading to things being very obvious, let's say, of what you need to release or clear and get out of the way for what's coming. And we want to do that in a positive, uplifting way. But they're also both in Gemini, Pisces, and what we just talked about, how they're the processors. So we're processing what we believe in a new way. We're processing the story we want to tell in a new way. We're looking at new options, like Jupiter and Gemini is expanding our possibilities, our options, our opportunities, things that you can do with other people, you know, again, with the community being part of that as well. And Saturn is once in 30 years in Pisces, solidifying your sacred side, right? What is sacred to you has to get a little bit more of a nod than every 30 years, but certainly every 30 years, you want to lay a new foundation. And I've definitely been at this ancestor work longer than that. So this is a new foundation to do post-parenthood, empty nest, all that good stuff allows me to cultivate even deeper relationships than I've ever been able to. So those little things that you got going, be grateful for those blessings because they free you up to be able to do some other things, even when life is challenging. We're still in Chiron and Aries, which means we're still in a process of healing, education, and soul work being something you have to do for yourself. You don't have to do it alone. You can do it in community, but you kind of have to do it yourself. So a lot of the things that me and Yeye both teach is tools and practices and things that you have to do yourself, but we do it in community because it's so much richer. It's a better experience for everyone, learns from each other. It helps people learn. It helps lock it in your system so that certain things become your practice. And those practices, like I said, are going to be what supports you going forward. And the specific activations, now we look at the way the planets are interacting. So while Venus is in Sag, remember I said she's going to do Sag, Capricorn, and Aquarius? She's going to hit somebody along the way. November 3rd, she hits Jupiter in Gemini. And that means these are the two benefactors. So we could attract some blessings. We're still in the zone though, so call them in. And it's that Sag to Gemini opposition. So there's a little bit of integration around your ideas and what you believe around your relationships and finances are part of that because of the Venus side, but Jupiter is all about your beliefs. And then she, in her Capricorn zone, December 2nd, she will trine Uranus and Taurus. So now we're looking at Venus and Capricorn. The values are very stable. Let's be stable. Let's be organized. Let's have it together. And Uranus is like, nope, you got to change something. But it's an easy change. So it should be something that liberates you, that frees you up. Let's think about that first week of December. Then when she hits Aquarius, she conjuncts Pluto, and that's December 7th. And Aquarius, so this is a whole new ballgame where she will spend the next 20 years linking up with Pluto every so often to change things, the values and priorities of your Aquarius house. That your house in your chart is the area of life being affected. So wherever that is, Pluto touching Venus transforms relationships and finances. And so again, you want to set your intentions for what you want to happen rather than being a victim of circumstance or things going on around you. As she's in Aquarius, 12/12, which is a magical day to do mojo, is opposite Mars in Leo, which by that time, I'm guessing Mars will be backwards. So they're backstage. This is another special thing about forward, backwards, whatever, how they interact. But that's masculine and feminine opposite each other while one is resetting and the other one's preparing to reset. So think about how you do things in the world. Think masculine, how you get things done, how you make your choices and actions. All of that is getting reset. While Venus is hitting a new zone of, let's say, wanting to live into that new narrative, really being ready for the new, tired of the old, don't want to deal with any of it. Let's get it out of here. So getting to January 1 is going to be a lot of closure. Give yourself a lot of space to clear things out and let go consciously so that it's not hard, and so that it's not miserable. You also want to be joyful because it's moving energy. It's going to open things up so that you can have better flow and have a better experience. So we don't want to be mad about that. And that's all our feminine interacting with some of the big boys, consciousness, change, the change agents. So there's lots of changing in how we receive, how we contain things, and how we nurture and protect our lives and our choices and the things that we want to grow for ourselves. So let's be mindful of how the feminine is evolving in a way that it's graduating from the last year and a half of work and moving towards its own reset of how we do that. But the masculine's already in it. So while Mars is in Cancer, it links up with Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So the big boys, again, with the change agents, the outer planets, the social collective. So now we're looking at Mars representing you, the individual, and the outer planets representing the social collective realms. So just know that because you're changing internally, how you come back out of this, and that won't be till summer of the new year, you'll be going into interacting with other people in completely new ways. So you're also preparing yourself for that. And I got the date. The Jupiter-Saturn thing is 2/24, it looks like here. Moving toward Jupiter square Saturn. Oh, it's going to happen 3 times over. That's what it is. And it's twice in Gemini Pisces, which is again with our thinking and our emotions, is being challenged to grow in big, big, big ways, truth and purpose ways. And then on the last one, they will have both moved on. And it'll be Cancer Aries. So this to me says that because we're growing in our consciousness and changing our beliefs to a certain extent or deepening our faith, however you want to look at that, it's shifting our reality. And because our reality is shifting, what we believe is shifting as well. It's kind of all connected. So let's think about that and know that as we come out of the process, it's also a 3 times over. So it's a back and forth. Let's get used to this new vibration. It's not just a one and done. By the time we get out of it, with that last one is June 15th of 2025. So like I said, not till summer solstice. So we are more than 6 months away. And at that point, you'll be ready to make new choices. Like you will have cleaned and cleared so much that making choices will be easy. Taking action will be easier. You know, you can try while it's backwards, but it's not easy. So I don't recommend it. And then the last caveat for worldly crazy with Mars retrograde, I always have to remind people because it is the planet of war. The first person who starts the fight loses is typically the way it goes. Because Mars is reversed, it's not acting like it normally does. So people who think they can go win the fight are going to lose. So we want to pick our battles, y'all. Don't engage if you don't have to, and set your boundaries so strong that things bypass you. And I think we need that for the holidays and for this time and to get through January in America anyway. We got a little ways to go through a dark tunnel. So our animal guide, which is really powerful, is snake medicine. So this is our death, rebirth, and transformation. There are extra tools for those of you who maybe haven't had a chance. You want to register for this. You have to register and go into the classroom. And so if you have any trouble with that, let me know. But there are some things in there with snake medicine that are fun to review, y'all. So check those out. Our housekeeping is around personal power. So there's just like a cleanup or check-in. What's going on with your power and creativity right now? Because of Scorpio, we have to think about different fears and feelings and things like that come up. So one of the other things I say about the water signs is Cancer feels it for the family, Pisces feels it for the world, but Scorpio feels it for the individual. So here's another way that we're just very focused on individual tonight, especially what's best for you right now. And it's not too much to ask to take these timeouts to focus like that. So check in with your personal power, compost what's dead and done, let that go, and seed your new life cycle. The prayers are around power, sexuality, and the shadow self. The journal prompts are around death, rebirth, and transformation. And the Mad Libs, which are everybody's favorite, are alchemy and evolution, change and transmutation, purification, and renewal. So these are the things you should focus on. These are the things that go to your team for, to ask questions about, to inquire where you're at and what's strong or what's weak and what needs attention, things like that. Now I want to pause because we did a lot on the energy and the animal support.